Here's to the babies in a brand new world. Here's to the beauty in the star. Here's to the travelers on the open road. Here's to the dreamers in the bars. Here's to the teachers in the crowded rooms. Here's to the workers in the field. Here's to the preachers of the sacred word. And here's to the drivers at the wheel. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to the doctors and their healing work. And here's to the loved ones in their care. Here's to the strangers on the street tonight. Here's to the lonely everywhere. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you. Do you want to do it again?
I got carried away.
Here's to the wisdom from the mouths of babes. Here's to the lions in the cage. Here's to the struggles of the silent war. Here's to the closing of the age. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Here's to you, my love. With blessings from above, let the day begin. Let the day start.
Okay, how about that as a way to get things going? So with that as our opening song, you of course realize Randy's with us today, which is always a treat. And you know, another thing that's kind of cool about today, she finally showed up again. Because we never really missed. Thank you. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
It is so nice to see so many happy, smiling faces. Do you think the weather helped? Yeah, but Randy said it was raining in Salem when he headed over this morning.
It was.
Really?
Nice, popping into sunshine going, woo!
Yeah. Because we had sun at our house out at Otis today. So far today, we've had nice sunny weather at our house.
Measured by the minutes this time of year.
No, we're going to ignore some of the stuff the last few days. But this morning we had sunshine. What?
Sunny and warm at the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes. Oh, yeah. Or hails, or...
Just wait 10 minutes. You're at the coast.
Yeah.
It only takes 10 minutes to change it.
Well, no, I don't think that's only the coast. So much of the time I thought that's always Oregon.
We had, the other day, we had hail, lightning, snow, we had it all.
We did at our house too. Yeah, the other night we had horrible lightning and thunder and...
That's right. Mother Nature saying, here, hold my beer.
What did you say, Mother Nature saying, hold my beer?
You can't fit all 4 seasons in a day. Or your Mother Nature goes, here, hold my beer.
Good, we have a really fun group today, so this is good. All right. Well, I guess at this point, I shall light the Christ candle. And just as a reminder to you, this is strictly meant to be a visual of the Christ light that is within all of us at all points in time. It is always there. That's why we light this. It's just as a visual reminder. And I think at this point in time, I'm going to ask Lorena if she'll do our opening prayer.
Yeah, let's go into prayer this morning. Let's take a deep breath together and let it out. Sweet Spirit, we come together this morning in a spirit of gratitude, open to the sweet presence that's all around us, that's flowing in, as, and through us. And so we come together this morning in a spirit of fun, which we've already seen, and we come with an open mind and an open heart and open arms for each other. And for just an hour, we just set our cares down at the door, knowing they'll be there if we want to pick them back up on our way out. We have that option, but for now, we rest in the sweet presence that we call God. And so we say, thank you, God. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, if you'd like to stand, we're going to sing Surely the Presence. And you have the words in your bulletin. Here we go. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the love felt as you enter in this place is seen shining out on each and every face. I can feel the brush of angels' wings and the peace that fills this space. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. You may be seated. Thank you.
And at this point in time, I remind you of the prayer box. You'll find prayer requests on the back of all the pews. And so if you have a request or a gratitude or something that you would like to fill out on that, please do. You're welcome to bring it up and put it in the prayer box, put them in the bowls when they come around, put them in the prayer corner, because today they are collected by Nellie, and she sends them back to Silent Unity for an additional 30 days of prayer in the Unity Silent Unity Chapel. So a lot of power goes into these. John, you're up.
My turn?
Your turn. What do you got in your hand?
I got a something.
You got a thing.
You got my folder?
No, you don't have a folder. You told me you were going to wing it.
Oh. Hi, gang. What a gorgeous day. But they're all gorgeous around here. They're especially gorgeous when we get Lorena with us. Just makes it that much better. Okay, you didn't introduce our guest.
No, I didn't.
We should do that.
Okay.
From the greater state of mind, from greater Pueblo, Colorado, is our oldest child, Michael. Michael Hume is with us. He was here for a couple of days. We don't get to see him except for once every, about 10 years? About that. Okay.
But it
so
is
that's
such a pleasure.
All right, next week.
And one of these times, maybe you'll get to hear a song that he's a musician amongst a bunch of other things. Author, goes on forever. He introduced us to a song yesterday that he had written for Christmas time. And it is one of the coolest things that I have ever heard in my life. And we tried to con him into doing it today. But he wasn't able to. But the name of it is
Maybe this Christmas.
Maybe This Christmas. And it's talking about, of course, the birth of Christ. And so it almost seemed appropriate, but we couldn't get him to do it. So maybe at some point in time, because it is an absolutely
But you'll
incredible...
be able to buy it come Christmas along with this
Oh,
book.
his
It'll be a
book.
package, right? He has a book at Amazon called Some Darn Thing.
It's called The 95th Christmas, not Some Darn Thing.
The 95th Christmas.
Some darn thing, there maybe is a book by that time.
Anyway, we're glad Michael's with us today. We're glad all of you are here. Okay, next week, as I started to say, Reverend Gene Celia will be here doing our Easter services. So it just so happens that this is Palm Sunday, and coincidentally, Easter comes a week later.
What? Works that way.
Yeah. So Gene will be here next week. Join us for that. I will be the Easter bunny, and I mailed everybody an Easter egg and hid it in your house. And since I don't know how you like your eggs cooked, I left it raw. So, I just, a little festivity. Okay.
And Jean is bringing something very special for us also next week. Yeah.
We will have a board meeting next. No, we
No,
won't.
we won't.
Board meeting won't be for 2 weeks. That's all right, we have a thing called Festival of Illusions. Phyllis?
Actually, that poster promotes Saturday night, this Saturday night, March 31st. I'm coming out of retirement and have directed a show. And it is for the warming shelter. All proceeds from the show will go to the warming shelter, and our goal is to double the intake from last year. So, if you want to see something that is fun and joyful and laughs at ourselves, come to the Cabaret of Fool's Day.
And that's at
You might tell them where it is.
It's
Just a thought.
Just a thought, yeah. Well, I thought they'd read the poster.
7 p.m. at the Cultural Center.
It's at Lincoln Cultural Center.
Yeah, and
It's at 7 o'clock on March 31st.
March 31st. Tickets, $20 in advance, $25 at the door. That's a good deal. Okay, is this ours to keep, to post on the wall somewhere?
Yours to keep.
Okay, good. I don't have anything else. Goodbye.
I'm done.
Well, I'm not exactly sure, but I think, well, no. I was going to say, I think maybe I'm done too, but nope, I'm not. If you will take your March affirmation out of your bulletins, please. We will do the one for Unity by the Sea first. The light of God lives in the quiet of our hearts, and we are at peace. And for ourselves, the light of God lives in the quiet of my heart, and I am at peace. And today I have asked Rose if she will do the daily word. If there's anybody here that doesn't realize it, Rose and Lauren are Lorena's parents.
Good morning. In full awareness and in infinite love, I embrace hope. I am familiar with that fluttery sensation within me that tells me something wonderful is waiting to express. Hope is a thing with feathers, according to the poet Emily Dickinson, that perches in the soul. Hope is my expectation that Spirit is at work in my life. I may not know how it will express, but I wait in excited anticipation. Palm Sunday is a thing with feathers, a time of awareness that a magnificent new dimension of spiritual expression is about to take place. The process may be chaotic and painful, but the hope perching in my soul knows that the next step on my spiritual journey is at hand. In full awareness and in infinite love, I embrace hope. And you will have confidence because there is hope. You will be protected and take your rest in safety. Job's 11:18.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now I get to be done, because Randy is doing something now, and followed by that will be Lorena.
Okay, well, this is one of those Holy Spirit songs. This week I was going through stuff, and I heard this song, and I remembered when I first heard the song was a young guy, a real young guy, and I used to listen to all kinds of music, and there was no hierarchy in those days. There were stations, and there was, pop music and country music, and I just listened to it all, and including country music. And I remember hearing this song when I was really young and how different it affected me right on the spot. And there's some talk about peace today, and so I'm going to share this with you because as a little guy, this just, it was beyond, pickup trucks and dogs and lovers and all the stuff that was going on in those days, and I heard it bright and clear. How many times have you heard someone say, if I had his money, I would do things my way. Little do they know that it's so hard to find one rich man in 10 with a satisfied mind. Once I was winning that fortune and fame, everything that I dreamed for to get a start in this game. And suddenly it happened, I lost every dime, but I'm richer by far with a satisfied mind. Money can't buy back your youth when you're old, or a friend when you're lonely, or a love that's grown cold. The wealthiest person is a pauper at times compared to the man with a satisfied mind. When my life has ended and my time has run out, my friends and my loved ones will weep, there's no doubt. One thing for certain, when it comes my time, I'll leave this old world with a satisfied mind.
Thank you, Randy. Well, good morning. So indeed, this morning we are talking about peace. But this is Palm Sunday, right? Beginning of Holy Week. So let's just do a quick review of what Holy Week might entail, right? According to the story of Jesus. So he begins Palm Sunday by riding into Jerusalem on a humble donkey, demonstrating that his ego has been set aside. Even though people are calling him king, he has a very humble state and presence about him. And then later on, he goes into the Garden of Gethsemane. I always have a tricky time with that word. And I imagine he's wrestling. He feels something coming. He's not really sure what that's going to be like, because while he is completely in touch with the Christ presence, he is also human. And he's got to be experiencing some conflict. And in the garden, he gets to the place where he can say, "Not my will, but thy will." And then we find the feast of the Passover, in which he demonstrates that the whole point is to serve others in love. That, as Randy said, there is no hierarchy. That we are all teachers, we are all students, and we can all serve others in love. And he does that in a very generous way that night with his disciples. And then there's the crucifixion and the resurrection, right? The ultimate letting go. Knowing that something new and wonderful is seeking to be born. And as I was thinking about the cross, I came about something the other night, talking about the Celtic cross. I think it was in the Unity booklet for Lent. And they talked about the Celtic cross, how in the middle where the two sides intersect, there's a circle that represents the circle of wholeness. And I was thinking, I've always kind of had a little trouble with the representation of the cross, because I don't want to look at the cross and see death and suffering and all of that, and that's an easy thing to do. But when I was looking at that Celtic cross, which was so beautiful on the page, I was thinking about it really is a representation of our journey. We're going on our path, right? We're moving through our lifetime, and when we hit bumps, I like Richard Rohr. He's written a book called Falling Upward. And I think about that in terms of the cross. We hit the intersection of our humanity and our divinity, and we fall deeper into our spiritual roots. And what that does is propel us higher into our consciousness. It's a beautiful way, for me anyway, to think of the cross. And I think that's what Holy Week is representing. At least that's what I'm allowing it to represent for me this year. Remembering that falling upward. And then, in John, the book of John, Jesus says, "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." Powerful words. And so I was thinking about that peace, this peace that Jesus was offering, is offering. And I think, it has no limitations. It comes with no fine print, right? It has no restrictions whatsoever. The only limitation that there is on that kind of peace is whatever limitation we put in the way of connecting with it. It is what it is. It is always present. And so our job is to make our way along the journey to where we intersect with our divinity so that we can experience that peace. And ideally what we all want is to reside there all the time, right? All of our moments. That's what I'm striving for. And it's a practice. I constantly remember there is a reason the things we do are called a spiritual practice. Because we have to practice them. Because just when we think we have them, right, we've lost them. And it's so funny, I have this story I was thinking about. So, I feel so good about the place that I find myself in. Physically, a little unwell, but everything else, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, I feel at peace, right? It's like, I have arrived. Well, you know what happens. You know what happens when you get there, right? So it's a long story, but Thursday night, I'm on my way to Portland to pick up my daughter Kaylee, to bring her back so she could go on a Mexico mission trip. And she's going to school in Seattle. This all happened last minute, spontaneous, so we've kind of planned this quickly. And she was getting on the Bolt bus, and I had downloaded the app, and she gave me the bus number, and she was supposed to arrive about 10 p.m. And I had some things to pick up for her, and so I thought, well, I'll stop at Walmart, before I go into Portland. That'll work great. And I'm watching the bus tracker, and I get a message from her that they have mechanical issues, and so they've shifted them, right? But nobody told me the bus number was going to be different. So I'm tracking the bus that she was supposed to be on, not the bus she was actually on. But of course I did not know this, right? And I'm looking, and her bus has been delayed, which makes perfect sense to me because they had issues and they had to swap. So I'm looking, and now the arrival time has moved to 11 p.m. Okay, that makes sense. So I dilly around at home, doing all these things. And then I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go to Walmart. So I go to Walmart, and I'm dillying around doing all of these things. And I look at my app, and it says 12:11. Okay, that's really late. But okay, I might as well spend time here. I'd rather walk around in the store than go down to the shady area downtown Portland and wait for the bus, right? And as I'm just meandering around with my cards, lost in my own little world, I get a text from Kaylee saying, Mom, we're almost there. No, honey, I don't think that's right. This app tells me 12:11. And she's like, no, they just made an announcement that we're going to be there in 5 or 10 minutes. I'm like, crap. So now I'm kicked into high gear, and I get to, and there's one register open, and there's a line. And so I go to the self-check, and I'm like, right, checking all of my things out. I just get into the car, and I text her, well, call me, because I'm going to be driving. Don't text me. And I'm just leaving McMinnville, and she says, we're here. Oh, and I'm freaking out. That piece I have so mastered has left the building, right? And she says, and by the way, apparently with the Bolt bus, they don't actually take us to the bus station. They stopped at an intersection and told us to get off the bus. So here's my 20-year-old at night, kicked off of this is how my mom's version is, kicked off of a bus in the very shady area, right? And my first thought is, excuse my language, oh, hell no, right? I want to strangle that bus driver, and then I want to strangle whoever's running the app, right? I mean, I'm just going to take them all out. And so I get in the car. That is the fastest trip I have ever made to Portland. Just think, I was freaking out. And at the same time, there was this part of me going, peace, right? Where's the peace? And it was such an interesting moment for me, because when I thought about my own dire situation, which sometimes it feels like, I had managed to get to a place of peace and full acceptance. But when it came to my daughter, that mom instinct was up, and it was like, no, there is no peace here. Someone needs to pay for this, right? I mean, it was just so fascinating. And the whole way to Portland, I'm thinking, peace, where's the peace? Where's the peace? She's going to be fine. And she called me and said she managed to get into the Greyhound bus station, so she's waiting in the bus station. So at least she's out of the rain and all of that. And it was just a really interesting experience for me at how quickly that place of peace can just poof, disappear with no trace left. And I thought, of course, how ironic, because yes, I'm talking about peace on Sunday, right? And here I think I've mastered it, and no, right? Because it's a practice. It's a practice. And of course, she was fine, so we move on from that. But it was an important moment for me. And so a friend sent me this book. It's called What God Said. And are any of you familiar with Neil Donald Walsh and his Conversations with God? Really, he's got several books. I read, I think, the first 2 or 3. And great books. Well, anyway, he just put this book out, and it's the 25 core messages of the Conversations with God series. So if you don't want to go back and read 7 books, get this one, and it's a really nice summary. And I remember when I read him, and he was really kind of my first introduction into a new way of thinking about God and spirituality. And it was probably 14 years ago. And I remember at that time it was such a foreign concept to me that I was reading it, but I know I wasn't really getting it, but it was an introduction. And when I sat down to read this one, it was like, oh, sitting down with an old friend that I just resonated with, and I felt like I had come home. Because 14 years, there's been a lot of change and a lot of growth and a lot of practice. And I got it this time. So he talks about 3 levels of awareness. Now, remember, if this resonates with you, great. If not, leave it at the door. Maybe there's something in it for you. He talks about hope, faith, and knowing. And he says spiritual mastery is about living from the 3rd level of knowing. And it was interesting that our daily word was about hope today. I had not read that yet this morning. So hope will be our first stop on this journey of spiritual mastery, okay? And he had a really interesting way of introducing awareness, because lots of times we talk about expanding our awareness. And his thought is that it's not possible to expand your awareness. Your awareness is what it is, right? But he talks about that kind of like your awareness rests in your soul. And your soul doesn't get larger. Your soul is what it is, okay? But you can expand your mind. And when you expand, your mind is your attention, right? That mindfulness. You can expand how much attention you pay to your awareness. And those 2 things is kind of how he defines consciousness. So I thought that was helpful. That was really helpful for me. So let's talk about hope. He says, hope, I know we had a definition of hope with the feather that Mom had read, and his says, hope is delightfully described as the energy that runs between a dog's eyes and his tail. I thought that was really cute, right? I hope I get it. I hope I get it. And it's an admission that a particular condition could happen, right? I hope this happens. And he says it's a good place to start. But in the process of our personal co-creation with God, it's the weakest of the energies. Okay, so think about this, and I have tossed around this word hope a whole lot the last couple of years. And I've really come to rest in the place of what he's saying. Because it is that. It's kind of like I'm going to try, right? I'm hoping that it's going to be okay. And wherever you are is perfect, right? But let's see maybe how we then can grow a little bit more mindfulness in our awareness and move beyond hope into faith. Okay? So faith, if energy is like a magnet, faith has more pulling power than hope. Okay? Because it's not about wondering if it will occur, if a condition will occur. It's feeling sure that it will. Right? Do you resonate with that? So it's different. I hope this will happen. I have faith this will happen. Do you feel the difference in that? And he says, believing is one thing, knowing is another, right? He said faith, which we also kind of interchange with trust a lot. It's not necessary if you're in a space of certainty. Right? Think about that for a minute. Faith for me, it's almost like a verb in a way. I practice my faith. But if I was absolutely certain, without a doubt, would I need faith? Just a question to ponder. Would I need hope? If I'm sitting in the place of certainty, would I hope something happens? No. Would I have faith something happens? I know something happens. Now, you may say, now we're just playing with words. But I encourage you to remember that words carry energy. And whatever we speak has an energy that we are constantly affirming to ourselves. And so if we're affirming hope, that's one thing. If we're affirming that we have faith, that's another thing. Both are really good, right? Really good. But if we're affirming that I know, how does that feel? Does it feel different for you? It does for me. It absolutely does for me. And he says knowing is the most powerful place that you can be in your awareness. He says faith lies inside our circle of awareness, but knowing is at the center. So here's I want to read to you what he says about knowing. He says, it is the place of absolute knowing, the center of awareness. Here is found a gentle joy. Here is found the kind of deep assurance that births total tranquility and sacred serenity. And then he goes on to say, the initiate has hope. The student has faith. The master has knowing. And I think we can agree that Jesus came to demonstrate the mastery of it, right? He knew. And what the master knows is that, now here's the trick, right? What the master knows is that any outcome that occurs in life will produce the highest and best for all concerned. It can be no other way. Therefore, the master does not hope for particular outcomes, nor does he have faith that specific results will manifest. The master knows with a certainty that all outcomes are perfect, just as they are, exactly as they arise, precisely as they present themselves. So do you hear in that where he's going? That in order to get to the place of knowing, to master that knowing, what do we have to do? We have to let go of outcomes looking a particular way. As long as we are attached to it needing to look a certain way, we keep our awareness in hope or faith, because we are hoping for a particular thing. We have faith that a particular thing will arise in order to know. Then we have to know that it doesn't matter. It does not matter what happens in the next moment, what happens tomorrow, what lies at the end of our road in this physical form. Because God is in and around and through all things. And so, how can there be an outcome that is not good? How can there be an outcome that is not perfect? Now, from the human perspective, I can think of a lot of outcomes that do not feel good or, quote, right. But if I can get myself to the intersection of the cross, where wholeness resides, and I get reconnected to the divinity within me, then I know it's good. No matter what. And that is a beautiful place to be in. And then my question becomes, for myself as much as you, I can be there for myself. Can I reside there when I'm watching other people's journeys as well? Right? That sometimes feels a little harder. Because it will indirectly affect me. And we all know we want something to go a certain way, but then we're back to hope and faith, which is better than nothing, right? It is. It's better than nothing. But it's not going to give us the kind of peace that Jesus was referring to. Because I'm not so sure Jesus knew what was coming, all the little details, right? He knew that he was going to transcend whatever it was. He knew that he was human and he was Christ. I'll bet he didn't know the pain he was going to experience, the heartbreak he was going to experience, how much he was going to have to let go in order to stay in that place of knowing, no matter what, that it was all going to be good, that it was all good. And, you know, so we look back at Jerusalem where he rode into, it's so representative of coming into his peace. I think that's how I look at it. And I'd like that for all of us, to be able to set aside our egos and all of the things that we would so like to have and experience, and be okay with whatever it is that we get. It doesn't mean that we don't have desires and wants. That's okay. We can have desires and we can have wants, and can we say this or something better? Because I think that's what the crucifixion was about. Letting go of what was in the now and saying this or something better. And trusting that whatever that is, it is going to be the highest and best for everybody involved, because it can be no other way. And so how do we practice it? Right? How do we practice it? Remember that your words carry energy. And if you hear yourself saying, I hope, maybe you can catch that and stop for a moment and switch it out and say, well, what if I have faith? And then maybe a little bit later say, no, wait a minute. What if I just know? Practice trying on the different energy that those different words bring for you. And then practice letting go of outcome. And my friends, it is not easy. It is not easy. Because we have in our mind what we think would be a good outcome and what we think would be, not a good outcome, right? But if God is good all the time, then there can't be a wrong outcome. This or something better. Let's take this into meditation. So if you'd just like to get comfortable in your chair and close your eyes if that feels good for you. And let's just let the words of this song is just, I'm loving this song by Carl Anthony, and let's just let the words guide us into that place of peace that the Spirit of Jesus was offering. Still my mind and be at peace in my awakening. I release, and with my heart free my soul in my awakening. I am whole. Om Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om. And as I love, and as I give, in my awakening, I choose to live and give me strength. Shine your light in my awakening. Be with me tonight. Om Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om. And all I believe, and all I know, in my awakening, I let go. Let's take that into the silence for just a moment. Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om. If you'd like to sing with me, please join in. Om Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om. We'll do it one more time. Om Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om, Shanti Om. And fill me with hope and faith and knowing. Conquer my fear. In my awakening, my peace is here. And so it is, and so we allow it to be. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes.